Welcome to Miles Ahead, the Canadian Points podcast brought to you by FrugalFlyer.ca, where we talk about all things miles and points, a hobby that allows us to travel all over the world in style and on a budget. Today, we'll be debating whether airline elite status is worth it. I'm Danny, and as a reminder, I'm a Canadian traveler currently based in New York City.
And I'm Jeff, and if you don't remember, I'm a Vancouver born and raised traveler.
And I'm Josh, Frugal Flyer, co-founder and born and raised Edmonton traveler.
So, the topic of discussion today, is airline elite status worth it? And how I've kind of thought about this topic and the ways to discuss it is, first of all, people may not be familiar with what you actually get for airline elite status. So we're going to go over some of the general benefits of airline elite status. And let's see, the things that kind of come to my mind would be, let's say, early boarding. You get some free check bags with even some extra weight allowance if you're a really high elite. Occasionally, you're going to get some free upgrades too, and those can be pretty awesome. I've experienced those myself. And then also, you're going to earn some more points when you're flying. But those are the things that I remember most. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of any status that includes airport lounge access. We already get access through a lot of cards, but having access in other ways is always a plus, depending on the airport you find yourself at. A big thing that comes to mind to me for certain programs, especially Aeroplan, is you get priority call center queuing, essentially. Yeah. So it's much quicker to talk to someone on the phone. Many frequent flyer programs have okay self-service options, and some are better than others, and Air Canada is one of the better ones. But still, if you need to pick up the phone, not having to wait on hold for an hour is obviously a massive time save for anyone.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, I love the preferred economy seats. I know many of us still fly economy. Nothing wrong with that, and being able to get those preferred or plus or extra legroom seats or whatever they're called in economy, I think is a great benefit. Usually for free at check-in with most airlines, and being able to have that little bit of extra space, being off the plane a little bit quicker. That's one of my favorite benefits of having at least some airline status.
Yeah, and then I would guess some other things, just to wrap up this section, that you would probably run into is things like priority check-in, right? So not having to wait on a line for checking your bags. Also priority rebooking. So if you do ever end up in a situation where you're stranded at the airport, it kind of ties into the priority phone line, where if you call, then you're going to get somebody right away. But also if you're at the airport, I have definitely seen Air Canada at least have a priority line for elite members, whereas everybody else is standing in the general population line. And then another huge one for me, I can't believe I forgot to bring this up, is alliance-wide or partner benefits. As soon as you start traveling outside of the continent that you earned elite status on, if you've got high enough elite status, and you can start getting things like free seat selection or free check bags with other airlines, then that is just absolutely massive in terms of the value that it can provide. So now that we have kind of a rough idea of what benefits you can expect to receive from airline elite status, the general benefits can be replaced with some credit cards. And I think the first one, to Josh's point, is lounge access. Like he said it in his explanation that, yes, we can get lounge access through credit cards, but sometimes having the airline status is a little bit better. So, Josh, how do you get lounge access through credit cards that you maybe can replicate from airline elite status?
So you have your general credit cards that can get you into priority Pass Lounge, Plaza Premium, Amex Centurion. So that might be your Amex Plaid, CIBC Ventura, Scotia Passport. But if you want to get into airline-specific lounges, at least in Canada, there's a few Aeroplan co-branded cards that offer access to Maple Leaf lounges, which is the same lounge that you would be getting access to if you had Air Canada status. So we have the TD Aeroplan Visa Infinite Privilege card. We have the CIBC Aeroplan Visa Infinite Privilege card. And I believe the Aeroplan Reserve as well.
Yes,
right. American Express.
The personal and business reserve cards will both come with that lounge access. Yep.
So that's a great way to get access to those lounges if, maybe you don't fly enough to get status and get access to those lounges. That still gets you in, and as of today, still lets you bring a guest. So that's a fantastic avenue to unlock some lounges that you wouldn't be able to get through those more general credit cards that offer just like lounge passes or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some of those cards are pretty expensive though. So like the MX Platinum does come with an $800 annual fee. At least the one in Canada. Now you've got $400 with easy to use credits. So that's basically a $400 annual fee card. But to get into the airline lounges, which you won't be able to get into with the Platinum, you have to buck up 600 Canadian dollars to have one of those Aeroplan premium cards. So yes, the lounge access that you receive for having Airline Elite status can be replicated through cards, but you're going to pay for it. So seeing how close you are to that threshold is definitely a calculation you should make if you're close to Airline Elite status. And then early boarding, priority baggage, and priority check-in. Surprisingly, these can be replaced with credit cards too. So Jeff, how can we get all of those great benefits of Elite status just by holding a credit card?
Yeah, so the three cards that spring to mind initially are the Air Canada premium co-branded cards that are issued by TD, CIBC, and American Express. Those are all going to give you those benefits, such as what you mentioned: early boarding, priority services, priority check-in, that sort of thing. Those all come with the base level status that you can earn with Air Canada, which is $25K. So those two, so the credit card and the $25K status basically overlap one another. So you're essentially, when you hold that card, you have almost the equivalent of Air Canada $25K status.
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing you're missing is the e-upgrades and the ability to earn priority rewards, which both of those are negligible in value at times, especially if you're not flying that much. So yeah, all of those are great benefits of the Air Canada premium cards, but they do come with a $599 annual fee, so they're not cheap to get those kind of benefits. However, my favorite airline in Canada right now, Porter, is coming in hot with some cheaper options to give you almost the exact same benefits. So Jeff, what are those benefits and how much does a card cost?
Yeah, so if you're looking for some benefits at a lower tier, BMO has some okay options. They have two cards, so you can go with the BMO VI Porter World Elite card. And please just tell me what the lower tier one's called.
BMO VI Porter MasterCard.
All right. BMO VI.
No World Elite.
Right. Okay. So that one costs you $89 a year, and that one provides priority check-in. That's it. That's the only benefit you get. In the day and age of online check-in, just using apps, the value there is kind of debatable. But
yeah, you're basically paying $89 to stand in a shorter line where you have to pay to check your bag because it doesn't come with free check bags.
Yeah. So Porter has some options. If you're a Porter flyer, those may or may not be worth it to you, but the options are there. Yeah.
And just to be clear, like that Porter VIP World Elite MasterCard or whatever the heck it is, so it's a long name, it still gives you early boarding, priority baggage, and the priority check-in. So a lot of the same features that the Air Canada premium cards do. And then Josh, our resident WestJet flyer, considering you're based in Alberta, one of WestJet's biggest hubs, the WestJet World Elite card, it does provide priority security, but in very niche environments.
Yeah, it's just at Calgary, which is their hub.
Yeah.
So I guess if you're in Calgary, really useful. Everyone else, including myself, not really much value there.
No.
So, yeah.
So
wouldn't go out of my way for it.
No. Yeah. And WestJet continues to be the most perfectly average airline in Canada.
Middle of the road.
Yes. Yeah, I recently wrote an article ranking all the airlines in Canada, and even Flair won some of the categories in terms of like being the best at a certain thing. WestJet was completely in the middle of the road for all of them. Now, free check bags. I know this is something that a lot of travelers care about because it can be a huge expense, especially if you're traveling with a large family. And I will say that most of these benefits, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all of these free check bag benefits apply to 9 travelers on a single reservation. So at $35 for a check bag, this could be like a $300 benefit just from holding one of these co-branded cards. So we've got the Air Canada Core cards, which is anything that has an annual fee between $100 and $200. They're going to be issued by CIBC, TD, and American Express. And then it's worth noting that the Air Canada Premium cards, the $600 cards, or $599 to be specific, will give you free check bags as well, kind of an overlap between the two. And then, Jeff, we talked about the priority features of the BMO VI Porter World Elite card, but it also gives you check bags, right?
Yeah, totally. Check bags is obviously the most popular benefit on co-branded cards in Canada, without a doubt. And I'm just going to kind of throw a question at you guys. There's one card in Canada, a co-branded airline card in Canada, that doesn't offer free check bags. Do you guys know what it is?
I immediately know what it is, but I've had a bit of a monologue, so I don't know if I want to throw it out there. Josh, do you know which card this is?
Is it the base level? Is it the base level Porter or the base level WestJet?
No.
Base level CIBC Aeroplan?
No.
So you're on the wrong track, so I'm going to save you from this. It's the Cathay Pacific Asia Miles card.
Oh, you know what? I wasn't even thinking of that one. So there's 2.
Oh, no way. Okay, Jeff, hit us with the goods.
So the other one is the Brim Air France KLM card.
Right.
Boom.
You guys pick the most niche. Yeah, you're right, but my mind doesn't go there for some reason. Yeah.
This makes my heart happy. We've sunset the Guess That Card segment, but it's still making an appearance in our first. It always lives on. It'll make appearances throughout. Yep. So, yes, for free check bags, to get a little bit more back on topic, for cards that do provide this and replace this level of elite status, you've got the Air Canada Core cards, the BMO World Elite VI Porter card, also the WestJet World Elite MasterCard will give you free check bags. And then pretty much any co-branded airline card with an annual fee will generally offer free check bags, except for the ones that we just called out publicly on air. But if you get into U.S. cards and start getting into the American Airlines, United, Delta cards, if you are going to be flying with an airline, it's generally a pretty good idea to have one of their co-branded cards. Would you guys agree with that?
I think so. Yeah. If you're going to be flying directly with them, why not? I do think, just as a general echoed statement, for the average traveler, getting a card that has check bags on an airline that you fly even semi-irregularly, if you use checked baggage, the savings almost immediately outweigh the cost of the annual fee. Like it is truly, even to my non-miles and points family, it was like, you're going to fly WestJet round trip twice this year. Like, get this card if you're going to check a bag. Like it's
totally,
there's not even a conversation. So take advantage if you're not already.
Absolutely agree. Yep. And then the last benefit that we can generally replace with credit cards is going to be expedited security, but pretty much just within North America. And can any of you guys take a guess at what I might be getting at here? Because expedited security isn't necessarily a listed benefit on any credit card, but through a roundabout way you can get it.
Yeah. Nexus membership. If you haven't looked into Nexus, phenomenal program. Usually a separate line at most airports. Even in Edmonton, we have a separate line where you don't have to take anything out of your bags. Belts don't come off. Like it's the fastest way through. Like Danny said, it's a little bit roundabout to get it. It's not just free Nexus as you hold the card. It does offer a statement credit on many cards in Canada. So you still have to go through the normal Nexus application process, which it's not too involved, but it takes time. And a lot of that time is just sitting around waiting, frankly, because you apply and wait for conditional approval, and then you have to do an interview in Canada, interview in the United States. But it's probably the biggest game changer in the last couple of years that I've gotten for myself and my partner, because you just save so much time and cut so many lines. So many of the cards that we've talked about already do have that as a benefit on it. Many of the airplane cards do. There's some CIBC cards that offer it as well. Definitely worth taking advantage of it.
Yeah, anything that has an infinite or infinite privilege in the name will generally come with the Nexus credit, as long as it's not like a cashback card, right? If you've got a travel related card that is an infinite or an infinite privilege, you're pretty much always going to have a Nexus credit, but check. And then those are all listed on the card pages as well. So if you wanted to head to Frugal Flyer and look at our credit card comparison tool, you'll see all the cards that have a Nexus credit in there.
I'll just quickly throw into the American Express premium cards, and I'm talking about all the ones that cost $600 or more. They all grant priority security at Toronto YYZ.
Boom.
That's true.
That is an excellent point. And I've used that, so I'm surprised I didn't remember it. But yeah, it's really awesome. Jeff, have you used this before?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Obviously, being in Vancouver, using priority security at Toronto just isn't something I've done all that often, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So you actually generate a QR code in the app, or there's a link that you can find online fairly easily, and you can generate it for like 9 travelers. So if you've got a friend with an expensive American Express card, if you've seen them slap down a platinum card on the table, hit them up and say, hey, give me a free expedited security QR code, and they'll send you a screenshot of it. You scan it, and you get to go through the fast lane. You still have to take off your shoes and out your computer and all that. Like, Nexus is the preferred way to do it, but yeah, that is actually an expedited security that I wasn't even thinking about that is included. You don't have to go roundabout at all for that. So kudos to Jeff. Okay. So now that we've been over what benefits you can expect from Airline Elite status and what makes it great, and then what we can replace with having credit cards and just maximizing on that front, there's obviously now going to be some benefits that we can't replace, and you're never going to be able to get unless you're flying in a premium cabin or if you just genuinely have Elite status. So the first thing that comes to my mind is extra checked bag weight allowance. So getting 70 pounds per bag versus 50 pounds per bag. You're not going to use this all the time, but I have an excellent example of when my wife and I moved from Canada to New York City. I was able to check 5 70-pound boxes and a bicycle completely for free. And that probably would have cost like $600. If we booked business class, we would have had a similar thing. But at the time, I had Aeroplan 50K, and I was able to check 3 bags under my name, all at 70 pounds. And it was pretty cool. Free upgrades to a premium cabin. Have you guys ever used Airline Elite status to get a free upgrade into a premium cabin from economy?
I've leached off of someone else. When I flew from Vancouver to Osaka a couple months ago, I flew with a buddy who has Super Elite 100K. And we were booked into premium economy and got bumped to business, which was fantastic.
Very nice. And that was using e-upgrades, I take it?
Yes. Yes, we did e-up. And we got cleared a few days before. So PY would have been fine, so nice. But even better, right? So
absolutely. Also, earning more points when you're flying. That's something that you can't replace with credit cards. I mean, there's a roundabout way where you can get status from spending, but we're not going to get into that. So earning more points when flying, right? Like just having a better multiplier. And Josh, this is something you talked about, the priority phone lines, right? I know we briefly touched on it, but you cannot get this with any credit card. You have to have status, and you won't even get it when you're flying a premium cabin.
Yep. No, it's true. And if anyone's ever had to call in, if you remember the days way back when you booked Round the Worlds with Aeroplan many years ago, and you had to call in and string, you're calling in trying to get the agent to do something very niche, which they may or may not understand, and you get to sit on hold for 30, 40, 50 minutes every time you want to take a crack at it. So being able to get through, if you have kind of a weird and wonderful request or are looking for something outside of the norm that you can't self-serve, huge time saver, and just gives you a little bit more opportunity to hang up and call again if you're not getting the outcome that you know you can get.
Absolutely. Yep. And then, of course, we talked about free or discounted extra legroom seating in economy. That's something that you can't get with a credit card. You have to have elite status. And of course, if you're flying in a premium cabin, you won't be looking for an extra leg economy seat because you already have a premium seat. Priority rebooking, that is not something you can replace either. And then, Jeff, free same-day changes. Have you ever gotten into same-day changes at all with any airlines?
I've never had to do it, no. And hopefully, hopefully I never do.
Well, I mean, so free same day changes is something that I've used in the past to actually get a better routing or a better aircraft. So less applicable in Canada because I don't think there's that many interesting products that you can same day change to. But the example that I did is I was in Washington, D.C., and I wanted to get to the West Coast, and I was flying to L.A., and I was able to book the cheapest ticket on a narrow body aircraft and then use a same day change thanks to my United Silver Elite status to go from Washington, D.C. to New York City and then fly to LAX. And they fly their flagship wide body planes on that specific route. And they don't do that out of Washington, D.C., or at least not on the flight that I needed. So I was able to change to a wide body in a better class of service with that same day change that was completely free. So unless I had my United Silver status, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So pretty cool that you would be able to do that only if you have the Airline Elite status, which is why the listener and the watcher will soon find out that I'm probably the most pro Elite status person on the show today, but I'll see if Jeff and Josh can convince me otherwise. And then the last few things that we have here, Jeff, we've got some alliance-wide and partner airline benefits. What do we have regarding that for benefits that you can only get with Airline Elite status?
Yeah, so generally if you have, this is usually going to apply to like mid-tier statuses and up, but you'll have what's called an alliance-wide status recognition, where a lot of the statuses that you get, say, for example, through Air Canada would apply to all of the Star Alliance airlines. And that could include things like what you just mentioned, priority same-day rebooking, lounge access, priority security at, say, Frankfurt Airport. If you're flying on Lufthansa, your status would apply to that and grant you priority security. Things like that can actually have a lot of value. Again, you're not going to get this at the lower tier statuses, though. You got to be at least the mid tier status to even get any of those benefits.
Yeah, I agree. And it is kind of a bigger deal for world travelers. Like, you're not really going to notice this if you're only flying within North America, because United is pretty much the only other airline, at least for Air Canada. Or, WestJet Elites, we harp on WestJet a lot, but they've got a really good partnership with Delta. And even if you have basic WestJet status, you're going to get 2 free checked bags with Delta, which is pretty nice. And that pretty much wraps up everything that we have for which benefits are only available for Airline Elites. And I mean, it's a pretty significant list. Like, I don't think there's something that you can overlook on that and say, that's not really worth it. But they are niche, right? Like, not everybody is going to be finding value in this if you're only traveling up in North America and you have a lower tier of status, for example. And then I guess the last point to go off on this, Jeff, you talk about this all the time. If you're flying in a premium cabin, it'll replace some of the benefits, right?
I think it replaces all the most relevant ones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you talk about the in-flight experience and airport experience, it's essentially like having airline status, as you get priority security, priority check-in, lounge access. You get, because you're flying in a premium cabin, you get the free seat selection.
The baggage, of course, too.
Baggage, too, yes. And it'll usually sometimes even include some form of complimentary Wi-Fi. So there's tons of benefits that you're going to get just by booking that premium cabin ticket. And, the way I travel is when I'm flying long haul, I'm pretty much always going to aim to fly in a premium cabin. So I essentially feel like I already have status with whatever airline I'm flying just for that particular flight. So if that's kind of the way you travel, status can kind of like lose a lot of its value, I think.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And then the last point here is that sometimes a premium cabin will give you a better experience than status. Like, Delta has rolled out their Delta One securities as some of these international airports, where you get a private security lane that no status is going to give you.
Right. We had that in with Virgin Atlantic in London. Same thing. Yeah, they have their own terminal and security. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, I mean, not to get too sidetracked here, but Josh, Lufthansa first class terminal in Frankfurt, Like, you can't get in there without status.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Pretty cool. All right, so what do we need to do to earn elite status? This is obviously a very broad topic, and we're not going to spend nitty time or a lot of time going over the nitty-gritty details of how this actually works. But Josh, what are the basics of getting status, at least in North America, with some of the more popular Canadian airlines?
Typically, you're going to have to spend money. That's the reality up front. A lot of loyalty programs and frequent flyer programs these days are revenue based for status. So typically you will have to spend X thousands of dollars. And for a lot of people, if you're just a leisure traveler, you're not flying for business all the time or whatever it may be, it's really hard to get any sort of meaningful status level, unless if you're paying a lot in cash fares, right? So you are kind of going up a mountain, and it's a very big mountain if you're just a couple trip a year kind of person. But there are some shortcuts. It's not super easy to shortcut to the highest status in a lot of programs, but there are a lot of things that you can do that kind of come to mind. So, I guess we can kind of go through the different statuses in Canada here and cover it. So one of the ones that comes to mind for me is a WestJet status with WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard. If you spend on that card, they have a status lift benefit where you get tier qualifying spend for what you spend. Keep in mind, you still have to spend a ton of money to get any meaningful status on that card. It is a shortcut, and I would highly advise against running $250,000 through that card. There are better options, but
way better.
It is a shortcut. Let's just call it what it is. It's a roundabout long way shortcut, but it can be a shortcut. So
I'm not sure if I would call it a shortcut as much as an opportunity to earn status.
What about
flying. How about that?
A scenic route, right? You get to spend all this money. You're going on a nice long road trip is what it feels like. And at the end, you're like, finally made it. I'm glad we're home. That's what it maybe is a better way of putting it. Now,
here's a question, Josh. At the end of that road trip, how many times have kids kicked the back of your seat and asked, "Are we there yet?"
Oh, I'm probably just depressed as hell at that point. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it.
Yeah, so the long, arduous path to WestJet status, maybe not the shortcut that we think it is. But there are a couple of shortcuts to Aeroplan 25K status, and that would be from a card issued in the United States or spending on a card that's issued in Canada. Jeff, what would those be?
Yeah, so the card you're referring to in the States is what I think is the best co-branded Aeroplan card available, is the Chase Aeroplan card. Upon being approved for this card, you will instantly receive 25K status for the year that you're currently in, plus the following year. So you can, in theory, receive up to 24 months of instant status just by applying for that card. And then you can continue to have that 25K status by spending the $15,000 every calendar year. The other way, if you don't have access to U.S. credit cards or you can't get Chase cards, the other way is by spending on a co-branded Aeroplan card in Canada, which grants, I believe you'll have to correct me on this, Danny. I think it's 1,000 SQM for every $5,000 you spend on the card. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you will receive a bit of a status lift. For every $5,000 that you spend, you'll get 1 SQS or 1,000 SQM. Right. But also, if you accumulate 100,000 Aeroplan points in a calendar year from January 1st to December 31st, you'll also get 25K status. Now, you could do that with just solely credit card spending, but the reality is that there's a bunch of different things that count towards EDQ or everyday qualification. I wrote an article. It's a little old now, but I think everything's still relevant. We're probably like 2 years ago that I wrote this, but not much has changed in terms of how the everyday qualification program works. So definitely worth looking into. If Aeroplan Elite status sounds like something you're interested in and you don't want to go down the path of the US, EDQ could be a nice option. Now, we'll finish off with our Canadian airlines. So the only other Canadian airline with a status program, because Flair does not have a status program, is Porter. And Josh, what do we have for a shortcut to Porter status? And a spoiler alert for everybody listening or watching, we've already talked about it in the episode.
Yeah, this is not a road trip type situation. This is a legitimate shortcut, and I know we all think it's great. So the BMO VI Porter World Elite MasterCard grants Porter Venture status. And that is already middle of the road status, and it starts to come with a lot of those benefits that Jeff kind of talked about before, and it's actually really valuable. So that includes seat selection for Porter Classic, free checked bag, free carry-on, even on a basic fare, which is pretty juicy, and a bunch of other stuff. And so that's a great avenue if you... Again, it's almost one of those situations where if you're going to fly Porter once or twice a year, you're probably best off getting the card and just holding it forever, because you're going to get so much more value. There is a lower tier version of the card as well, which is the BMO VI Porter MasterCard, which is not as valuable, but it does still grant Porter Passport status, which still comes with some benefits, but it's not as good as the other one. And the main things are you get that priority check-in that we mentioned before, and you earn 1 more point per dollar. But it's really a situation where the World Elite is head and shoulders above everything else.
Very much so. Very much so. And the last shortcut that we have to talk about for Airline Elite status is United Silver status. So United Silver status is a benefit of Bonvoy or Marriott Bonvoy Titanium status. So with Marriott Bonvoy Titanium status, it does take quite a lot of stays at Marriott to get to. This is an awesome opportunity to plug our Shortcuts to Marriott Bonvoy Elite Status episode that we released in March of 2025. So you can have a listen to that if you're interested in getting United Silver status. And United Silver status, you'll get on the upgrade list. You'll get at least 1 or maybe 2 free check bags, which is really nice. Priority boarding, all the stuff that comes with the basic status. But interestingly, if you're flying United, between 2 cities where there isn't a lot of traffic, you might actually get upgraded. And I was given a domestic first class upgrade from Winnipeg to Chicago using my United status. And it was even confirmed like 2 days in advance as well. So if you're on leisure routes, or if you're on routes that don't have a lot of United Elites on them, like Winnipeg to Chicago, you might get a first class upgrade, which can be kind of nice. All right, so we've talked about all of the potential benefits of Airline Elite status, how you can replace those with another set of benefits from a credit card, what is unique about Airline Elite status. But we're finally getting to answer the question of, is Airline Elite status worth it? And I guess I'll go first with my monologue as the Airline Elite status lover of the group. I do travel a lot for work. It's wonderful. Even though we live in different cities, I get to see Jeff and I get to see Josh at least twice a year, traveling around Canada. So last year, for example, excluding my SAS challenge, which I guess sidebar, sorry, I did a round the world trip last year that had 27 flights in 14 days. It was kind of neat. We've got some articles on it. Excluding those 27 flights, I flew on 68 flights last year that were just genuine flights, and a bunch of them were paid by employers and whatnot. So I am able to accrue a relatively high level of elite status. Because of that, I find it worth it, because I'm not investing that much of my own time or money into elite status. And I'm traveling sometimes with other airlines where I want to have a similar experience. So like traveling on Porter, I have no status with Porter, but being able to buy Porter status for 410 air miles, like we talked about in our news episode, that's awesome, right? Now, if you're interested in doing that, you do have to do it by September 8th. And this episode should be released on August 22nd. So you might not have time to still do that by the time that this episode comes out. But that's something that I'm going to do, because I'm used to having free check bags, priority check-in, and all of that stuff. And I value it, and I'm probably going to fly Porter 5 or 6 times before the year is over. And I'm also probably going to accrue like $1,500 in Porter spend that's not my own money. So for me, why wouldn't I spend $40 in value to have status for 18 months that I did very little for? So for somebody who travels a lot, not on my own dime, I think it's awesome. So for all you other road warrior consultants out there, Airline Elite status is something you should really consider and look at trying to maximize. But be careful, because I tried to maximize my Aeroplan Elite status at the end of last year, And I failed miserably at getting my last status qualifying segment because I didn't read the terms and conditions well enough. And this is coming from a pro, somebody who writes about this and talks about this stuff all the time. So read my article about mileage running and my failed attempt there if you want more details on it. But in my book, airline elite status is great if you travel a lot and you're not spending your own money on it, or if you're spending company money that's your own company and you're going to spend it anyway. It's worth it to be loyal, for sure. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. So I travel far less, a few international trips a year, fair amount of domestic, but all for leisure. I typically book into the cabin or class that I want to fly. If it's just myself and my partner traveling, we typically fly business class for anything longer than 3 hours. And we just simply don't fly enough to make chasing status worth it. I've done a few status matches in the past and a few, limited time where they give you status for like 2 months to earn status for a longer period. Like I've benefited from that. I've gotten some upgrades on WestJet in the past through unique opportunities like that. But based on my travel patterns right now, it's really not a value add. But I will say I do enjoy Aeroplan 25K from the Marriott Titanium status match. And it's nice to have. It's a low-hanging fruit in my eyes. So that's probably the highest Aeroplan status I'll have ever, maybe, based on, how my life goes and, employer-wise and who knows. But for me right now, it's simply a matter of I book what I want and I kind of operate within those constraints. So not something I actively think about. Wish I had it though, honestly. If I had an employer where I was traveling all over and consulting and whatnot, I'd chase it.
Yeah. Jeff, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm going to just echo a lot of what Josh said. I think it just depends. To answer your question, is it worth it? It just depends on how you travel. Like Josh, if I'm flying anywhere long haul, it's going to be in a premium cabin. So I just don't find it necessary. The other thing I kind of dislike about it is that it really kind of pigeonholes you into flying with one airline or one particular alliance. And, one of the things I love about this hobby is being able to fly all the different airlines anytime I want without having to worry about, instead of flying Japan Airlines, maybe I got to fly Air Canada because I need to spend with Air Canada to maintain my status, which is something I'm just not willing or want to do. So that's, to me, kind of one of the disadvantages of trying to chase status. So for me, I'm like Josh. It's not worth it. I'm happy with my Aeroplan 25K status from Marriott Bonvoy, and I think that's a pretty great perk. And I'm just gonna ride that as long as it's available.
Yeah, I think that the one thing you can take away from this that is a definite answer to the listener or to the watcher, if you're watching this on YouTube, is that getting Marriott Titanium status and getting United Elite status and Aeroplan Elite status is the best deal in terms of travel right now. I think we can all agree on that.
Absolutely.
And on that note, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Miles Ahead. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions about anything we discussed, please leave a comment on the episode page at FrugalFlyer.ca. And if you have a question you want us to answer on air, you can submit it on FrugalFlyer.ca/podcast. Bye, everybody.